The massive space station called Harmony's Edge floated in the dark space between star systems. It was bigger than most cities on Earth, with metal walls that gleamed under the distant light of nearby stars. Ships from 12 different alien worlds were docked to its sides like strange insects attached to a giant flower. Sora pressed her small face against the thick glass window of the observation deck. Her breath made little clouds on the cold surface as she watched the alien ships. Some looked like sharp needles made of crystal. Others were round and bumpy like giant rocks. A few seemed to be alive, with surfaces that moved and changed color. The 8-year-old girl sat cross-legged on a soft cushion, wearing a simple blue dress that her father had chosen for this important day. In her lap, a tabby cat named Bomb slept peacefully. The cat's orange and black stripes rose and fell with each quiet breath. Bomb had been Sora's best friend for 3 years, ever since her father found the tiny kitten abandoned near their home on Earth. Admiral Tejo, Sora's father, stood nearby talking to other humans in quiet voices. He wore his best uniform, the one with shiny buttons and colorful ribbons that showed he was important. His aide Jinwoo held a tablet computer and whispered updates about the meeting schedule. The Keth delegation arrived an hour ago, Jinwoo said softly. Beast Lord Vorthak is already making demands about seating arrangements. Tejo nodded but kept his eyes on his daughter. He had brought Sora to this historic peace summit because he wanted her to see how different species could work together. For 10 years, there had been small wars and conflicts across the galaxy. This meeting was the first real chance for peace in a long time. Is she okay here alone? Tejo asked, looking at Sora and her sleeping cat. The observation deck is safe, Jinwoo replied. Security is watching everything. Besides, many delegates are curious about her. It's the first time most of them have seen a human child. Through the large windows, Sora could see into other parts of the space station. Strange beings walked through the corridors. Some were tall and thin like walking sticks. Others were short and round. A few floated in the air instead of walking. All of them were here to talk about peace. The Velkan delegation passed by the observation deck. They looked like tall birds with feathers that changed from blue to green when they moved. Their leader had golden feathers around his neck and eyes like black jewels. He saw Sora through the window and tilted his head in a curious way that birds do. Sora waved at him with her free hand, being careful not to wake Bomb. The Velkan leader seemed surprised but raised one wing-like arm in return. Other Velkans gathered around him, pointing at the human child with excited chirping sounds. Next came the Aquari, who needed special water suits to survive outside their ships. They moved slowly, their suits making soft bubbling sounds. Inside the clear helmets, Sora could see faces that looked like friendly dolphins with hands. One of them stopped and pressed its face close to the window, watching Bomb sleep. It made clicking sounds that seemed happy. Look, Bomb, Sora whispered to her cat. They think you're interesting too. Bomb's ears twitched slightly, but the cat didn't open its eyes. The tabby had been sleeping almost all day, which was normal for cats. Sora didn't mind. She liked having her furry friend close while surrounded by so many strange new beings. The crystalline hive sent their delegation next. These aliens looked like walking gems, their bodies made of clear stone that sparkled with inner light. They didn't have faces like humans, but somehow Sora could tell they were looking at her. One of them touched the window with a hand that looked like it was carved from diamond. Sora placed her own small hand against the glass, matching where the crystalline had touched. The alien seemed pleased and flickered with brighter colors inside its crystal body. More crystallines gathered, their bodies chiming like musical bells when they moved close together. As the different alien groups passed by, Sora noticed that many of them were interested in Bomb. They would stop and stare at the sleeping cat with curiosity. Some pointed with whatever they used for hands. Others made sounds that their translation devices couldn't turn into words. Why do they all want to look at Bomb? Sora asked her father when he came to check on her. Tejo smiled and sat down beside his daughter. Most alien species don't have pets like we do. They think it's strange that humans keep animals just for friendship. But Bomb isn't just a pet, Sora said, scratching behind the cat's ears. She's my best friend. I know, sweetheart. But other species don't understand that. They think keeping animals is a sign of weakness. Sora frowned. That's silly. Bomb makes me stronger, not weaker. Before Tejo could answer, the lights in the corridor dimmed slightly. The temperature seemed to drop a few degrees. Other aliens in the hallway moved aside quickly, pressing themselves against the walls. The Keth delegation was coming. Sora had heard about the Keth, but never seen one. They were the most feared species in this part of the galaxy. The Keth Empire controlled 3 star systems through conquest and war. They were known for being cruel to other species and turning entire planets into hunting grounds. The first Keth warrior that came into view made Sora gasp. It was huge, maybe 3 times taller than her father. Its body was covered in scales that shifted from dark green to bright red as it moved. The creature walked on 2 legs like a human, but its head was long and narrow like a crocodile. Sharp teeth showed when it breathed. Behind the first warrior came others, all carrying weapons that hummed with energy. Their scales rippled with patterns of light that seemed to communicate without words. The other aliens in the corridor tried to make themselves as small as possible. Then came their leader. Beast Lord Vorthak was even bigger than his warriors. His scales were darker, almost black, with lines of electric blue that pulsed like a heartbeat. Spikes ran along his spine and arms. His eyes were yellow and seemed to glow in the dim light. When he looked around, other species turned away quickly. Vorthak's gaze swept across the observation deck and stopped when he saw Sora. The massive alien stared at the small human girl and her sleeping cat. His scales began to glow brighter, cycling through colors that the translation computers said meant amusement and contempt. "Interesting," Vorthak said, his voice so deep that it made the windows vibrate. "The human admiral brings a child and a pet to witness the reshaping of the galaxy." Teho stepped protectively closer to his daughter, but Sora wasn't afraid. She had seen scary movies that were much more frightening than this big lizard. Besides, Bomb was still sleeping peacefully in her lap, and cats always knew when there was real danger. Vorthak continued to stare at them through the glass. His warriors gathered behind him, their scales also changing colors in what seemed like laughter. Other alien delegations watched nervously, wondering what the Beast Lord would do next. Jinwoo appeared at Teho's side with his tablet. "Sir, the next session starts in 10 minutes. The Keth delegation should be moving to the conference room." But Vorthak didn't move. He kept staring at Sora and Bomb, his scales now showing patterns that the computers translated as hunting interest. The Beast Lord was clearly planning something, and everyone in the corridor could sense it. Sora gently stroked Bomb's fur and whispered, "Don't worry, kitty. The big scary lizard can't hurt us through the glass." She had no idea how wrong she was about what Vorthak could do. More importantly, she had no idea how wrong everyone was about what Bomb really was. The peace talks had been going on for 3 hours when Admiral Teho called for a break. Sora was getting hungry, and Bomb had finally woken up from her long nap. The cat stretched in the lazy way that cats do, with her back arched high and her tail straight up. "Come on, Bomb," Sora said, standing up from her cushion. "Let's go find some food." The observation lounge was bigger than the deck where Sora had been sitting. It had comfortable chairs, tables with snacks, and large windows that showed the beautiful starfield outside. Many of the alien delegates were here, talking in small groups and eating foods from their home worlds. Sora found a table near one of the big windows and sat down with Bomb in her lap. A serving robot brought her a sandwich and a glass of milk. The robot also put down a small bowl of water for Bomb, which made Sora smile. Even the machines on this space station were polite. The Velkan delegates were nearby, making musical sounds as they ate seeds from silver bowls. The Aquari had a special tank where they could swim while they ate. The crystallines didn't seem to eat anything, but they stood near a bright light that made their bodies sparkle. Everything was peaceful until the temperature in the room suddenly dropped. The other aliens quickly moved away from the entrance as the Keith delegation entered the lounge. Beast Lord Vorthak's massive form filled the doorway. His scales were cycling through dark colors that the translation computer said meant he was in a hunting mood. Vorthak's yellow eyes scanned the room until they found Sora. A sound came from his throat. That might have been laughter, but it sounded more like rocks grinding together. He said something to his warriors in the Keth language, and they spread out around the room. Other aliens tried to make themselves invisible. Sora's father and Jinwoo were across the room talking to the Velkan leader. They hadn't noticed Vorthak yet. The Beast Lord seemed to be waiting for exactly this moment when the human child was alone. Vorthak walked slowly toward Sora's table. Each step made a heavy sound on the metal floor. His claws clicked as he moved. The lights in his scales pulsed faster, showing his excitement. Other delegates backed away, leaving a clear path between the massive alien and the small human girl. Well, Vorthak said as he reached Sora's table. His voice was so deep that it made the windows shake. The famous admiral's daughter, all alone with her little pet. Sora looked up at the towering beast lord without fear. Bomb had stopped drinking water and was sitting very still in Sora's lap. The cat's ears were pointing forward, alert but not scared. "Hello?" Sora said politely. "Are you here for the peace talks too?" Vorthak's scales flashed with colors that meant surprise and amusement. "Peace talks? Child, I am here to watch your father's species learn their place in the galaxy." The beast lord pulled out a chair that looked too small for his massive body and sat down across from Sora. The chair creaked under his weight. Up close, Sora could see that his scales weren't just green and red. They had tiny patterns that moved like oil on water. "Do you know who I am, little human?" Vorthak asked, leaning forward so his crocodile face was closer to Sora. "You're Beast Lord Vorthak," Sora said, taking a bite of her sandwich. "Daddy told me about you. You're the leader of the Keth Empire." "That's right. And do you know what the Keth Empire does to weak species?" Sora thought for a moment. "Daddy says you fight wars and take over planets." Vorthak's scales brightened with pleasure. "We don't just take over planets, child. We hunt the weak species for sport. We turn their worlds into playgrounds where the strong can practice their skills on inferior prey." More aliens in the lounge had noticed what was happening. The Velkans were making worried chirping sounds. The Aquari were clicking rapidly in their water suits. Even the crystallines were flickering with nervous colors. But no one dared to interfere with a beast lord. "Your species thinks they are strong," Vorthak continued, his voice getting louder. "But look at you. A weak, soft creature who brings an even weaker pet to witness the most important meeting in galactic history." Bomb's tail twitched slightly, but the cat remained still in Sora's lap. "Your father speaks of human strength and unity," Vorthak said, his scales now showing patterns of mockery. "But what kind of strength is it when you cannot survive without these parasitic furballs?" The beast lord pointed one clawed finger at Bomb. "This creature produces nothing. It fights nothing. It contributes nothing to your survival. Yet you waste resources feeding it and caring for it. This is the weakness that will destroy your species." Sora stroked Bomb's fur gently. "Bomb isn't weak. She's my friend." Vorthak made that grinding sound again. "Friend? This animal cannot even understand what you are saying. It cares nothing for your friendship. It stays with you only because you feed it." Across the room, Admiral Tejo had finally noticed what was happening. He started walking toward their table, but Jinwoo grabbed his arm and whispered something urgent. Sora could see her father's face getting red with anger, but he stayed where he was. "Watch your father, child," Vorthak said, noticing Tejo as well. "See how he wants to protect you but cannot. If he interferes with me, it will be seen as weakness by every delegation here. Your species' chance for peace will be ruined." Sora looked at her father and saw that the Beast Lord was right. Daddy's hands were in fists, but he couldn't move without making things worse for everyone. "This is the flaw in human nature," Vorthak continued, his voice carrying across the quiet lounge. "You form attachments to inferior beings. You waste strength protecting the weak instead of consuming them. You keep pets when you should be breeding warriors." The Beast Lord stood up, his full height making him tower over Sora's table. "When the Keth Empire expands into human space, we will hunt your pet animals for sport. We will show you what real predators do with weak, useless creatures." Vorthak leaned down so his face was very close to Sora's. "Perhaps we will make you watch while we hunt your little cat. Then you will understand the price of your species' weakness." Other aliens in the lounge were now watching in shocked silence. Some looked disgusted by Vorthak's words. Others seemed frightened. A few appeared to be taking notes as if they were learning something important about human nature. Sora continued to pet Bomb calmly. The cat was purring now, a soft rumbling sound that seemed very loud in the quiet room. "You're wrong about Bomb," Sora said quietly. Vorthak's scales flashed with anger. "Wrong? Child, I have conquered 3 star systems. I have hunted the apex predators of 17 different worlds. I know weakness when I see it." "Bomb isn't weak," Sora repeated. "She's just sleeping." The Beast Lord laughed, a harsh sound that made several aliens flinch. "Sleeping? Yes, that proves my point exactly. While real predators are alert and ready for battle, your pet sleeps like prey waiting to be eaten." Vorthak turned to address the entire lounge, his voice booming. See how humans defend the indefensible? They will claim strength while cuddling with creatures that cannot even stay awake during a crisis. The Beast Lord was enjoying himself now. His scales were bright with colors that meant victory and dominance. He thought he was winning some kind of contest by humiliating a human child in front of representatives from 12 different worlds. Tell me, little human, Vorthak said, turning back to Sora, what possible purpose does this animal serve? What great feat of strength has your cat ever performed? Sora looked down at Bomb, who was still purring softly. The cat's eyes were closed, but her ears were moving slightly, as if she was listening to something far away. Bomb keeps me safe, Sora said simply. Vorthak's laughter was so loud now that it echoed off the walls. Safe? This tiny creature could not protect you from a strong wind, much less from a real predator. The Beast Lord was having so much fun mocking the human child that he didn't notice the change in the room's temperature. The other aliens had noticed, though. They were starting to back away from Sora's table, their faces showing confusion and growing fear. Your attachment to this useless animal proves that humans are not ready to join the galactic community as equals, Vorthak announced. You are a species of pets keeping pets. When the Keth Empire comes for your worlds, we will treat you exactly as you deserve. That was when Bomb opened her eyes. The change was so sudden that everyone in the observation lounge felt it at the same time. One moment, Beast Lord Vorthak was laughing at the human child and her sleeping cat. The next moment, the air itself seemed to become thick and heavy, like breathing through water. Bomb's eyes opened slowly, the way cats do when they wake up from a deep sleep. But these were not the golden-green eyes that Sora remembered. Instead, two perfect circles of electric blue light blazed from the small tabby's face. The light was so bright and pure that it hurt to look at directly. Vorthak's laughter died in his throat. His scales, which had been bright with amusement and mockery, suddenly shifted to dark colors that meant confusion and fear. The massive Beast Lord took a step backward from the table, his yellow eyes fixed on the small cat in the human child's lap. The temperature in the room dropped so fast that frost began forming on the windows. The lights flickered and dimmed. Electronic devices throughout the lounge started making strange beeping sounds. The translation computers began speaking in languages that didn't exist. Bomb stood up gracefully on Sora's lap. Her movements were different now, too smooth, too perfect, like she was floating instead of walking. The blue light from her eyes cast strange shadows that seemed to move on their own. Every alien in the lounge was staring at the small cat. The Velkans had stopped their musical chattering. The Aquari were perfectly still in their water suits. The crystallines had gone completely dark, as if they were trying to hide their inner light. When Bomb spoke, her voice didn't come from her mouth. Instead, it appeared directly inside everyone's mind, clear and strong and impossible to ignore. The universal translators weren't needed because somehow, everyone understood her perfectly, no matter what language they normally spoke. You speak of conquest, little lizard, Bomb's mental voice said. The words carried amusement, but underneath the humor was something much more dangerous. You know nothing of true predators. Vorthak stumbled backward, knocking over his chair. His massive body was shaking, and his scales were now showing the deep black colors that meant terror. For the first time in his life, the Beast Lord was face to face with something that made him feel like prey. Sora looked down at her cat with wonder, but not fear. Bomb, is that really you? Yes, little one. The cat's mental voice was gentle when speaking to Sora. I am still your Bomb, but I am also much more than you knew. Admiral Te-Ho was pushing through the crowd of aliens, trying to reach his daughter. Jin Wu was right behind him, his tablet computer sparking with electrical problems. Other human diplomats were running into the lounge, drawn by reports of something impossible happening. What are you? Vorthak managed to ask. His voice was much smaller now, like a child asking a question he was afraid to hear answered. Bomb turned her blazing blue eyes toward the Beast Lord. When she looked at him, Vorthak felt like every secret thought in his mind was being read and judged. I am Tetherian, Bomb said, and her mental voice now reached every being on the space station. We are the Watchers, the Guardians, the ones who decide which species deserve to reach the stars. Throughout Harmony's Edge, aliens stopped what they were doing as Bomb's words filled their minds. In conference rooms, delegates froze with their hands halfway to their drinks. In the docking bays, maintenance crews looked up from their work. On the command bridge, the station's captain stared at his instruments as they registered energy readings that shouldn't exist. For millions of years, we have walked among the species of this galaxy, Baum continued. You have called us by many names, pets, companions, animals, but we are none of these things. The small cat jumped down from Sora's lap and walked across the table. With each step, the metal surface beneath her paws glowed with soft blue light. When she reached the edge closest to Vorthak, she sat down and wrapped her tail around her feet in the way cats do. We have been your dogs, your cats, your birds, your small quiet creatures that you kept close and thought you understood. But all this time we have been studying you, watching you, deciding if you deserve our protection or our judgment. Vorthak's warriors had backed away from their leader, their weapons forgotten. Some were making whimpering sounds that the Keth language had no words for. Other alien delegations were talking in excited whispers, realizing what this revelation meant. Protection? The Velkan leader managed to ask, his musical voice shaking. Judgment? Baum's blue eyes turned toward the bird-like alien. Every species faces the same choice as they develop. Do they seek to dominate or do they seek to cooperate? Do they consume the weak or do they protect them? Do they see other life as tools to be used or as partners to be cherished? The cat's mental voice grew stronger, reaching further across the galaxy. On planets throughout known space, other pets were also opening eyes that blazed with blue light. Dogs were standing up from their favorite sleeping spots. Birds were spreading wings that suddenly seemed too large for their bodies. Fish were rising to the surface of their tanks. Most species choose dominance, Baum said sadly. They reach the stars only to spread conquest and destruction. These species we watch from the shadows until they destroy themselves or others destroy them. Vorthak fell to his knees, his massive body shaking. The Keth Empire. What we've done to other worlds. We know everything you have done, Baum said, her mental voice now carrying the weight of countless years. We were there. We saw every hunt, every conquest, every world you turned into a playground for your warriors. The Beast Lord's scales had gone completely black. Are you here to punish us? Punishment comes to those who choose it, Baum replied. But today I'm not here for the Keth. I am here for the humans. Every head in the lounge turned toward Sora, who was still sitting quietly at her table. The little girl seemed very small, surrounded by all these powerful beings. But she wasn't afraid. The humans are different, Baum continued, and now her mental voice carried something that might have been joy. In all our millions of years of watching, they are the first species we have found that truly understands partnership. Admiral Tejo had finally reached his daughter's table. He knelt beside Sora's chair, his face full of questions he didn't know how to ask. They do not keep us as pets, Baum explained. They invite us to be family. They do not see us as tools or trophies. They see us as friends. They share their homes, their food, their love, and ask for nothing in return but companionship. The small cat stood up and walked back toward Sora. As she moved, her blue eyes began to dim slightly, becoming more like the golden green eyes that Sora remembered. But the power was still there, just hidden beneath the surface. For the first time in galactic history, Baum announced, the Tetherians have chosen to reveal ourselves, not to punish or to conquer, but to protect a species that has earned our love. Baum jumped back into Sora's lap and curled up like a normal cat, but her eyes were still glowing faintly, and her mental voice continued to reach every mind on the station. From this day forward, humanity is under the protection of the Tetherian Guard. Any species that threatens them threatens us. Any world that attacks them will face us. The observation lounge was completely silent, except for the soft humming of the life support systems. Every alien present was trying to understand what had just happened. The most powerful predator species in the galaxy had just knelt before a small Earth cat. An ancient race of guardians had revealed themselves to protect a species that most considered weak. Sora gently stroked Baum's fur, and the cat began to purr. It was the same soft, rumbling sound that had comforted the little girl for 3 years. Some things, it seemed, were beyond the reach of cosmic power and ancient mystery. Will you still be my friend? Sora asked quietly. Baum's mental voice was warm with affection. Always, little one. That was never pretend. News of what happened in the observation lounge spread through the space station like electricity through water. Within minutes, every delegate on Harmony's Edge knew that the small Earth cat was something far more than anyone had imagined. Within an hour, the news was racing across the galaxy at faster than light speeds. Sora sat quietly in her father's private quarters, with Bomb curled up in her favorite spot on the little girl's lap. The cat looked completely normal now, except for the faint blue glow that sometimes flickered in her eyes when she was thinking about something important. Admiral Taeho paced back and forth across the small room. Jinwoo sat at a desk, his tablet computer finally working again, displaying message after message from Earth and other human colonies. Everyone wanted to know what was happening. I still can't believe it, Taeho said for the 10th time. 3 years. For 3 years we've had one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy living in our house, and I thought she was just a stray cat. I was a stray cat, Bomb said, her mental voice gentle and amused. That part was real. I was young and alone and scared when you found me. Sora's kindness saved my life. Sora scratched behind Bomb's ears. But you could have gone home any time you wanted, couldn't you? Yes, Bomb admitted. But I didn't want to. Living with your family taught me things about humans that I could never have learned just by watching. The door chimed softly, and Jinwoo looked at his tablet. Sir, we have urgent communications from 7 different alien delegations. They all want private meetings. The Velkin leader says it's about respectful partnership possibilities. The Aquari delegation is asking about friendship protocols. Taeho stopped pacing and looked at Bomb. What does this mean for humanity? What are we supposed to do now? Before Bomb could answer, another chime came from Jinwoo's tablet. This one sounded different, more urgent. Admiral, Jinwoo said, his voice tight with worry. We're getting reports from Earth and from every human colony. Sir, it's happening everywhere. What's happening everywhere? Taeho asked. The pets, Jinwoo said, staring at his tablet screen. Dogs, cats, birds, even fish. They're all changing. All over human space, pets are opening blue eyes and speaking to their families. Bomb's tail twitched, and she sat up straighter in Sora's lap. My people are revealing themselves to their human families. It's time. Through the communication system, they could hear excited voices from other parts of the station. Alien delegates were talking rapidly in their own languages. Some sounded amazed. Others sounded frightened. How many of you are there? Taeho asked. Every pet that humans have ever loved, Bomb said simply. We have been with your species since you first began caring for animals. When your ancestors in caves shared their fire with wild dogs, we were there. When your people first tamed cats to protect their grain stores, we were there. Every act of kindness to a small creature, every moment of love between human and animal, we witnessed it all. Sora's eyes went wide. That's a lot of cats and dogs. Not just cats and dogs, Bomb explained. Birds, rabbits, horses, even fish and reptiles. If a human has ever loved an animal and been loved in return, one of my people was involved. Jinwoo's tablet chimed again. Admiral, I'm getting reports from the crystalline delegation. Apparently they're having some kind of emergency meeting. Something about their small companion crystals starting to glow. Bomb made a sound that might have been laughter. The crystallines have pets too, though they don't call them that. Small crystal formations that they keep for their pleasing harmonics. Some of my people have been living among them for centuries. The Aquari keep small fish-like creatures in their home pools. Jinwoo continued, reading from his tablet. Those are starting to change too. And the Velkins, they have what they call song companions, or small bird-like creatures that help them make music. Admiral Taeho sat down heavily in a chair. You're everywhere. We go where we are needed, Bomb said. Most species never learn to truly care for other life forms. They see animals as tools or food or entertainment. But a few species, very few, develop the capacity for genuine love across species lines. How few? Sora asked. In all the millions of years we have been watching, only 7 species have ever earned our protection. Bomb said sadly. The others either destroyed themselves through war, or we had to intervene. The way she said intervene made Admiral Taeho feel cold. What does that mean? Species that become too dangerous to the galaxy must be stopped, Bomb explained. It is not something we enjoy, but it is sometimes necessary. Jinwoo looked up from his tablet, his face pale. Sir, Beast Lord Vorthak is requesting an immediate audience. He says it's about terms of surrender. Surrender? Taeho asked. The Keth Empire wants to surrender. News travels fast in space, Bomb said. By now, every major power in the galaxy knows what happened here. They're all trying to figure out what this means for them. The communication system crackled and the voice of the station commander filled the room. Attention all delegates. We are receiving priority messages from governments across the galaxy. All scheduled negotiations are suspended pending further developments. Sora looked down at Bomb. Are you in trouble for revealing yourself? No, little one, Bomb said, and her mental voice was warm with affection. My people approved this decision long ago. We have been waiting for the right moment to make contact. Why now? Admiral Tejo asked. Because humanity is at a crossroads, Bomb explained. Your species is expanding into space, meeting other civilizations, facing choices about what kind of galactic citizens you will become. We wanted to make sure you had the support you needed to choose wisely. Jinwoo's tablet was now buzzing constantly with incoming messages. Admiral, we're getting communications from human colonies throughout the galaxy. The governors want to know if this is some kind of military alliance. Earth Command is asking for a full briefing. Answer: we're getting reports that several alien fleets that were heading toward human space have suddenly changed course. Fear is a powerful motivator, Bomb observed. For too long, other species have seen humans as weak because of your bonds with animals. Now they understand that those bonds connect you to something much older and more powerful than they imagined. The lights in the room dimmed slightly, and Bomb's eyes began to glow brighter. I need to speak with my people. There are decisions to be made about how we proceed. Will you be gone long? Sora asked, worry clear in her voice. Just a few minutes, Bomb assured her, and I'll still be right here in your lap. The cat closed her eyes and the room filled with a soft humming sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It was like music, but deeper and more complex than any song Sora had ever heard. While Bomb communicated with other Tetherians, Admiral Tejo and Jinwoo tried to make sense of the flood of messages coming in from across the galaxy. Every few minutes, another alien delegation requested a meeting. Several wanted to negotiate new trade agreements. Others were asking about defensive pacts. They're all scared, Jinwoo realized. Every message is about forming better relationships with humanity. Can you blame them? Tejo asked. They just found out that every human family has a connection to an ancient guardian race. Bomb opened her eyes again, and the humming stopped. My people have made their decision, she announced. We will make ourselves known to all species that have earned our presence. The time of hiding is over. What does that mean for the galaxy? Admiral Tejo asked. Change, Bomb said simply. Big changes are coming. But for humanity, these will be good changes. You will no longer have to face the dangers of space alone. Sora hugged her cat gently. I'm glad you're still my Bomb. Always, the cat purred, and for a moment she sounded exactly like the ordinary tabby cat that Sora had loved for 3 years. Some things are more important than cosmic politics. 3 months after the revelation at Harmony's Edge, the galaxy was a very different place. The peace summit that was supposed to last 3 days had stretched into 12 weeks as every major power scrambled to understand the new reality. Sora sat in the same observation lounge where everything had changed, watching ships arrive and depart from the space station. But now, instead of 12 delegations, there were 47. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to negotiate with humanity and their newly revealed Tetherian guardians. Bomb was curled up in Sora's lap, looking like a perfectly ordinary cat except for the occasional blue flicker in her eyes. She was purring softly as Sora read a book about space exploration that one of the Velkan delegates had given her. Look, Bomb, Sora said, pointing to a picture in the book. This shows what their homeworld looks like. All the trees have silver leaves and the sky is purple. It's beautiful, Bomb agreed, her mental voice warm with interest. I visited there once, many years ago. The Velkans make music with the wind through those silver trees. Admiral Tejo approached their table with a tired but happy expression. The last 3 months had been the busiest of his career, but also the most successful. Instead of struggling to make peace between warring species, he now found himself at the center of a new galactic alliance. How did the morning session go, Daddy? Sora asked. Very well, Tejo said, sitting down beside his daughter. The Aquari Federation officially signed the Mutual Protection Treaty. That makes 26 species that have joined the alliance. What about the Keth Empire? Sora asked. Tejo glanced at Bomb, who opened one eye to look at him. Beast Lord Vorthak has agreed to what he calls supervised rehabilitation. The Keth will stop their conquests and start returning the planets they took from other species. Is he really sorry for the bad things he did? Sora asked. I think he's more scared than sorry, Tejo admitted. But sometimes fear can lead to better choices. Through the large windows, Sora could see a group of Keth workers helping to repair damage to one of the Aquari ships. It was strange to see the fierce warriors doing careful construction work instead of fighting. The Tetherians are helping them learn, Baum explained, noticing what Sora was watching. Change is hard but possible for any species that truly wants it. Jinwoo arrived at their table carrying his ever-present tablet and wearing a smile that had become common over the last few months. Admiral, we just received confirmation from Earth. The Global Council has approved the establishment of the Interspecies Cooperation Institute. What's that? Sora asked. A new organization that will help other species learn how to form partnerships with Tetherians, Tejo explained. Humans will teach what we've learned about living with animal companions. It's not as easy as it sounds, Baum added. Many species have never experienced unconditional love. They need to learn how to give it and receive it. As if summoned by their conversation, the crystalline delegate approached their table. The being's crystal body was flickering with nervous colors. In her diamond hands, she carefully carried a small crystal formation that glowed with soft light. Honored Admiral, the crystalline said through her translator device, my companion has begun to communicate with me. I am uncertain how to respond appropriately. The small crystal in her hands pulsed with blue light, and a gentle mental voice spoke to everyone at the table. She keeps asking if she is doing it right, the crystal Tetherian said with amusement. I have told her that friendship cannot be done wrong, but she does not understand. It takes time, Sora said kindly. When I first got Baum, I worried about everything too, but you can't break friendship if you really care. The crystalline's body brightened with what might have been relief. The human child speaks wisdom. I will continue to care and not worry so much about correctness. After the crystalline left, Jinwoo showed them his tablet screen. Sir, we're getting reports from all over human space. Pet adoptions have increased by 4,000%. Everyone wants a Tetherian companion. That won't work, Baum said, and her mental voice carried gentle amusement. We cannot be summoned or purchased. The bonds form naturally over time based on genuine connection. What about people who want a companion but can't find one? Sora asked. Then they wait, Baum replied. And while they wait, they learn. They volunteer at animal shelters. They help injured wildlife. They prove that they understand what partnership really means. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Jinwoo checked his tablet and his eyes widened. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the far reach. It's from the Hegemon Coalition. Tejo's expression became serious. The Hegemon Coalition controlled the outer edges of the galaxy and had never participated in any peace negotiations. They were known for enslaving other species and strip mining entire star systems. What do they want? Tejo asked. Jinwoo read from his tablet. They're requesting permission to approach human space. They want to negotiate for protective alliance with the Tetherians. Baum's eyes opened fully, blazing with blue light. When she spoke, her mental voice reached across the space station. The Hegemons have enslaved 17 different species. They have destroyed 43 inhabited worlds for resources. They seek power, not partnership. What will you tell them? Admiral Tejo asked. The same thing we tell all species, Baum replied. Prove that you have changed. Free the enslaved worlds. Repair the damaged planets. Show us that you understand the value of life beyond your own. And if they refuse? Baum's mental voice became colder. Then they will discover what happens to species that threaten our chosen partners. The message was clear, and it spread quickly through the galactic communication networks. Within hours, several species that had been planning attacks on human colonies suddenly found urgent reasons to reconsider their plans. As the day continued, Sora watched more ships arrive at the space station. Each one brought representatives hoping to join the growing alliance centered around humanity and their Tetherian guardians. Some came seeking protection, others wanted trade agreements. A few were genuinely interested in learning about cooperation and partnership. It's getting crowded, Sora observed as another massive ship docked with the station. Growing pains, Baum said philosophically. Change always brings chaos before it brings peace. Are you happy about all this? Sora asked her cat. Baum considered the question seriously. Happy that my people no longer have to hide? Yes. Happy that the galaxy is learning better ways to live together. Yes, but mostly I'm happy that I get to help build this new future with my favorite human. Sora hugged her cat gently. Will things keep changing like this? Oh yes, Bomb purred. The galaxy is full of species we haven't met yet. Some will want to join us, others will need convincing. A few will have to be stopped. But whatever comes, we'll face it together. Admiral Tejo looked around the observation lounge, now filled with beings from dozens of different worlds, all talking and sharing meals and learning from each other. 3 months ago, I came here hoping to prevent a few small wars. Now I feel like we're building something that could last for thousands of years. You are, Bomb confirmed. The Tetherian Guard has waited a long time for a species worthy of true partnership. We plan to make sure this alliance succeeds. As if to emphasize her point, soft mental voices could be heard throughout the station as other Tetherian Guardians spoke with their alien companions. Dogs were helping former enemies learn to work together. Cats were teaching patience to species that had only known aggression. Birds were showing the beauty of cooperation to beings who had never experienced it. Will you always look like a regular cat? Sora asked. Bomb's eyes sparkled with mischief. Would you prefer if I looked like something else? No, Sora said quickly. I like you just the way you are. Then this is how I'll stay, Bomb said, settling deeper into Sora's lap. After all, some things are more important than appearing impressive. Like purring when your favorite human pets you. And with that, the ancient guardian who had helped reshape the galaxy closed her eyes and began to purr, content to be exactly what she had always been in the moments that mattered most. A little girl's beloved cat. Outside the windows of Harmony's Edge, the stars shone on a galaxy where strength was measured not by the ability to conquer, but by the capacity to love. It was a new age, built on the simple truth that the bonds between different species could be stronger than any weapon. And at the center of it all, a human child and her cat watched the universe change, one friendship at a time.